All right, so we're diving deep today into Bluehost and why it's so popular for WordPress users.
Especially for beginners, but actually pros too. And I think the big thing to know up front is that Bluehost is officially recommended by WordPress.org.
Oh, wow.
And that's a really big deal because WordPress.org has very strict standards for things like performance and security and reliability.
So it's like a stamp of approval from the experts.
Exactly, like a gold star from the people who made WordPress.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's a big thing to consider right off the bat.
And I think for anyone who's just starting out with WordPress, one of the biggest things is like, how easy is it to use?
Right.
Because when I first started building websites, I was so overwhelmed by all the technical stuff. And Bluehost really does make it super easy to get started.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, installing WordPress on Bluehost is literally like a one-click process.
Wow.
And their dashboard is so user-friendly.
Really streamlined.
Yeah, you don't need a computer science degree to figure it out.
It's like they've taken all the complicated stuff and just hidden it so you can just focus on making your website awesome.
Exactly. You just get in there and start designing and writing and creating your content.
Love that. And plus, it's also super affordable, right?
Yes, affordability is a huge plus with Bluehost.
Especially when you're just starting out, you don't want to break the bank.
And to make it even better, they even give you a free domain name for the first year.
Oh, wow, that's a great perk.
Yeah, and a free SSL certificate.
Okay, so those are some major pluses right off the bat.
Yeah.
But what about performance?
Okay, yeah, so performance is where things get a little bit more nuanced. So Bluehost generally has very good uptime.
Okay, so like your site's consistently accessible.
Exactly. But the loading speed can be a bit hit or miss,
Okay.
especially on their basic shared hosting plans,
Right.
which are great for starting out. But if you're expecting tons of traffic or you really need like super fast speeds, then you might want to consider their managed WordPress hosting, which they call WP Pro, or even VPS or dedicated servers for like the ultimate in performance.
So it's kind of like choosing different internet speeds, right?
Exactly.
And pay more for the faster speed, but sometimes you can get away with the slower speed if you're not doing anything too crazy.
It's all about finding the right fit for your needs and your budget.
Awesome. And what about design and customization options?
Okay, so Bluehost actually has this really cool onboarding process where they kind of ask you a few questions about your website, and then they suggest a basic site design for you based on your answers.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's really neat.
Especially for beginners. I feel like that'd be super helpful.
Oh, absolutely. It's a great way to jumpstart the whole process,
Fair.
but there's a slight caveat. You might run into some limitations when it comes to customizing certain areas like your header and your footer
Okay.
if you use their onboarding process. But don't worry, they still give you the option to use themes and plugins to really customize the look and feel of your site.
Right. So themes are like the clothes your website wears, and plugins are like the accessories that give it all the extra functionality.
Yeah, like all the bells and whistles.
Exactly. It's all about making your website reflect you and your brand. And speaking of plugins, Bluehost lets you install your own,
Yes.
which is awesome. But they also pre-install a bunch of plugins for you.
Yes, they do. And that can be a bit of a mixed bag.
Okay, how so?
So some of the pre-installed plugins like Jetpack are actually super useful.
Okay.
It gives you things like site analytics and security enhancements and even marketing tools.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a whole suite of tools, but other plugins that they pre-install might not be as useful,
Okay.
or they might be redundant if you already have a preferred alternative.
Yeah, I've definitely been guilty of having way too many plugins on my website before, and it really can slow things down.
Oh yeah, it's like having too many apps running on your phone.
Totally. It just bogs everything down.
Exactly. So the key is to be selective about which plugins you use.
So only install the ones that you really need, and that provide like a clear benefit to your website.
Exactly. Keep it lean and mean.
I like that. All right, so we've covered ease of use, affordability, performance, design, and even plugins. What about scalability, though?
Oh yeah, that's a great point. So what happens when your website starts to grow and needs more room to breathe?
Right, what if you're like the next big thing?
Well, that's where Bluehost's range of hosting options comes in handy. They have plans to accommodate websites of all sizes.
From tiny blogs to massive online stores.
So as your website grows, you can easily upgrade to a more powerful hosting plan.
Without having to like migrate your entire site to a new provider.
Exactly. You can just stick with Bluehost and they'll take care of you.
That's awesome because who wants to deal with all that hassle? All right, so that's peace of mind right there. And speaking of support, What happens when you inevitably run into a problem or have a question?
Well, Bluehost is actually known for having excellent customer support.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, they're available 24/7 via phone chat and email.
So you can always get help no matter what time zone you're in.
And they even have a dedicated WordPress support team.
That's amazing.
So if you're having trouble with something specific to WordPress, you can talk to someone who really knows their stuff.
That takes a lot of the stress out of website management, I think.
Absolutely. They know that building and managing a website can be daunting, especially if you're new to it.
Totally.
So they make it their mission to provide you with all the support and guidance you need to succeed.
I love that.
Mm.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of reasons why Bluehost is such a popular choice for WordPress websites.
Yeah, we've talked about the beginner-friendly setup, the affordability, the performance options, the customization features, the scalability, and their awesome support.
But it's important to remember that Bluehost, like any web hosting provider, has its pros and cons.
Right. There are definitely some trade-offs to consider.
Yeah, and it's important to weigh those carefully to decide if Bluehost is the right fit for you and your specific needs.
It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. Okay, so let's dive a little bit deeper into some of the specifics of using Bluehost for a WordPress site.
Okay, sounds good.
So one of the things we mentioned earlier was that while the basic shared hosting plans are really budget-friendly,
Right.
they do come with certain limitations.
Okay.
It's kind of like sharing a ride with others.
Okay.
You know, it'll get you where you need to go, but there might be a few compromises along the way.
Right, and one of those compromises could be performance, especially if you're getting a lot of traffic to your website.
Yeah, if your site starts to get really popular,
It's like being stuck in traffic during rush hour.
totally, everything slows down.
Yeah.
So if you need more speed and resources, you might want to consider their managed WordPress hosting, which they call WP Pro.
Okay.
That's like having your own dedicated lane.
Okay.
So your website gets priority access to resources and everything runs much smoother and faster.
Love that.
And it's also optimized specifically for WordPress, so you get enhanced performance and security features that are tailored to the platform.
Oh, that's awesome. And I know they also have like VPS and dedicated servers too, right?
Yes, exactly. For those who need the absolute ultimate in power and control.
Like if you're running a massive online store or something.
Exactly, or a high-traffic news website, something like that.
That's like having your own private jet.
Yeah, exactly. Ultimate flexibility and power, but of course it comes at a higher cost.
Right. You got to pay for that luxury.
Exactly. It's all about choosing the right vehicle for your journey.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about performance. What about themes?
Oh yeah, themes are important. So Bluehost offers a variety of themes to get you started, and you can customize them to a certain extent.
Okay.
But you might run into some limitations in terms of like fully customizing specific areas like the header and the footer.
Okay.
But don't worry if you're someone who really wants complete control over every pixel of your website.
You want it to be perfect.
You can always explore the vast world of third-party themes.
So it's like having a custom-built house versus buying a prefab one.
Exactly. You can have it designed exactly to your specifications.
And speaking of customization, we can't forget about plugins.
Oh yes, plugins, the heart and soul of WordPress customization.
Right. They add so much functionality to your website.
Exactly. They can do everything from adding contact forms to creating online stores.
It's amazing.
It really is.
Yeah.
But as we talked about earlier, Bluehost does pre-install some plugins for you,
Right.
which can be helpful. But remember, too many plugins can slow down your website.
Yeah.
So choose your plugins wisely.
Words to live by. Speaking of which, one plugin that I always recommend is a caching plugin,
Oh yes, caching plugins are essential.
like WP Super Cache.
Yeah, that's a great one. Caching is basically like creating a shortcut that delivers your website content faster to your visitors.
Okay, so explain that like I'm 5.
Okay, so imagine you're baking a cake.
Okay, I love cake.
Me too. So instead of baking a cake from scratch every time someone wants a slice,
Right.
you have a few pre-made slices ready to go. That's kind of what caching does. It stores a copy of your website's pages and then serves those copies to visitors instead of having to generate them from scratch every time.
It makes your website load faster.
Exactly.
Okay, so caching is definitely something to look into. And since we're talking about performance, we should probably mention security too,
Oh yes, security is crucial.
especially these days.
So Bluehost does offer a free SSL certificate.
Which is great.
Yes, but you definitely shouldn't stop there. You also need to make sure you're using strong passwords and keeping your WordPress core themes and plugins up to date.
Okay, so it's like locking your doors and windows.
Basic security measures can go a long way in protecting your website.
And what about security plugins?
Oh, yes. Security plugins are a great idea. A plugin like WordFence can act as your website's bodyguard.
Okay,
It's like having a security system for your house.
right.
It monitors for suspicious activity and fends off potential threats.
That gives me peace of mind.
Yeah, it's definitely worth considering. All right, so we've talked about performance and security.
Yeah.
What else should people know about managing a Bluehost WordPress site?
Yeah, what other nuggets of wisdom do you have for us?
Well, one thing that people often overlook is email.
Oh yeah, email marketing is important.
It is, but I'm actually talking about just having a professional email address. So instead of using like a generic Gmail or Yahoo address, you should really have an email address that uses your domain name.
Right, so like your name at your website.com.
Exactly. It looks way more professional and credible.
It's like having a business card with your own logo on it.
Makes you look legit.
And Bluehost makes it easy to create and manage professional email accounts, right?
Yes, they do. It's all built into their platform.
That's awesome. Okay, so we've got email covered. What about content?
Ah, yes, content, the heart and soul of any website. And WordPress is a fantastic platform for creating and managing content.
You can have blog posts, pages, images, videos, the whole shebang.
Exactly. It's all about creating high-quality, engaging content that resonates with your target audience.
So make sure you're putting effort into creating content that people actually want to read and watch and interact with.
Absolutely, content is king.
And once you have that amazing content, you need to know how people are interacting with it.
Right, you need to understand what's working and what's not.
And that's where analytics come in.
Exactly. Bluehost offers integrated analytics tools that show you all sorts of valuable data about your website traffic.
So like where your visitors are coming from, what pages they're visiting, how long they're staying on your site.
Exactly, all that juicy data.
It's like having a GPS for your website.
Yeah, it gives you directions on how to improve your site.
So you can make informed decisions about your content strategy and your overall website management.
Exactly. You can see what's resonating with your audience and what needs to be tweaked.
All right, analytics checked off the list. What about hosting plans?
Ah, yes. Choosing the right hosting plan is important.
Because Bluehost has a lot of different options, right?
They do. They have everything from shared hosting to managed WordPress hosting to VPS and dedicated servers.
So it's all about choosing the right level of hosting power and flexibility to match your website's needs.
And the good news is you can always scale up your hosting as your site grows.
So you're not stuck in a one-size-fits-all solution.
Nope. You have the flexibility to adjust as needed.
And Bluehost is there to help you every step of the way.
Absolutely. They have fantastic customer support that can guide you through the process.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into Bluehost for WordPress.
We've talked about performance security themes, plugins, email, content analytics, and even the different types of hosting plans available.
Yeah, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about. Okay, so we've talked a lot about Bluehost, but how do you actually decide if it's right for you?
Well, it really comes down to your specific needs and priorities.
Right.
If you're a beginner and you're just looking for an easy and affordable way to launch like a basic website,
Right.
then Bluehost's shared hosting plans are a great place to start.
Yeah, you get everything you need.
Exactly. Easy WordPress installation, a free domain name.
The user-friendly dashboard,
Yep. And if you get stuck, their support team is there to help.
always helpful.
Yeah.
But what if you're like a more experienced user or you're planning to build a more complex website?
Right. If you're expecting a lot of traffic or you need more advanced features,
More control?
then you might want to consider their managed WordPress hosting or even VPS and dedicated servers. And that's the beauty of Bluehost. They have different options to accommodate your website's growth.
So you can start small and scale up as needed.
Exactly, without having to move your whole site to a new provider.
That's peace of mind.
It is. Now, before we wrap up, I want to emphasize that building a website is a journey. It's not a destination.
I like that.
It's an ongoing process. You're always learning and experimenting and refining your online presence.
So it's like tending a garden.
Okay.
You plant the seeds, you nurture the growth, you make adjustments along the way.
Your website is a living thing. It evolves and grows alongside your business or your personal brand.
And the best part is, you're not alone on this journey.
Oh, absolutely. The WordPress community is huge and super supportive.
There are tons of resources and tutorials and forums online.
Yeah, you can connect with other WordPress users and learn from their experiences.
And of course, Bluehost has their support team
Always there to help.
24/7.
So you're never really on your own.
That's comforting. So if you're ready to start building your website, head over to the link in the description.
Yeah, check out Bluehost's different hosting plans and see which one is right for you.
Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, Bluehost gives you a solid foundation and the support you need to create a website that reflects your vision.
Exactly, and helps you achieve your online goals.
So go ahead, take the plunge, and unleash your creativity.
Happy website building!